Welcome to the Lazy Paddler Investor Show, everyone. Today, I've got Angela with me, and we're going to be covering a darling of the tech industry, NVIDIA. Angela, why don't you describe their business?
Sure thing. NVIDIA has primarily focused on technologies in chip manufacture, AI software libraries, gaming market like tracing, GPU speed, biotech, automotive, AI data centers, gaming, high performance computing. Whew, while that was a mouthful, NVIDIA has been able to maintain a very competitive edge in serving AI needs in various markets. While you think about that, don't forget to comment, like, and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, definitely. We need to add like one more subscriber so we can have a dozen. All right.
Yes.
So NVIDIA started, I believe, as a chip maker, just general chip maker, and then became GPU producers. And they were leaders in this industry for a long time. With a sort of shout out to AMD, who was kind of like following along and doing similar things, but usually they're a couple of steps behind NVIDIA. And in the last 2 years, NVIDIA's had this phenomenal growth. And I've been a shareholder for maybe a decade. And Angela, you've been a shareholder how long?
For about 2 years.
Yeah, so I recently realized that the stock was exploding. I saw it in my portfolio, just sort of like expanding, expanding, expanding. And I did not really know why. I read a little bit about their AI stuff and I was like, okay, but what does that mean in terms like why is this building up so much income for them? But that's what this is, right? This is investing. This is buying and holding and waiting. So sometimes when you buy a great company, like I bought NVIDIA thinking, hey, this is a great company. I need a company that's in the video game space, but I didn't like in a lot of video game providers. And so I bought NVIDIA thinking, hey, if people want to, speed up their computers for whatever reason, likely it's going to be because they're in gaming. So why not buy the company that provides that experience? But sometimes great companies, they come up with new ideas, right? And they come up with really good new ideas about things that are like outside of where you might have thought they were supposed to go. Like if you think about AI in general, like what companies come to mind? For me, it was Google, Apple, Microsoft, the major players.
Tech. Yes.
But like if you would ask like, and I'm talking about me like 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago even, I would not have chosen NVIDIA. I would not have chosen Tesla to be the leaders really in making like AI happen. But you buy, you hold, and sometimes those great companies end up having really cool shifts in where they get their money from. Anyhow, let's look at the components of their growth. So we dug up a little bit about their year over year growth. Angela, can you run us down on their revenues?
Yes, for sure. So I will run you guys down, and all these percentages are, like Harlan says, year over year revenues. So in gaming, we are up to 81% year over year. In professional visualization, this might be, making movies, using AI to render the technologies and the screens. It's up to 108%. Automotive, 4%. And data center, watch this, 279%, which is where the hot stuff is at. Nemo Foundation models, and DGX Cloud AI supercomputing. DGX provides a full stack AI developer suite and more. So they use these fancy names to make the technology sound super cool, but that is where majority of their revenues come from and majority of what they provide.
Yeah, so that data center side of it is growing leaps and bounds. And they've got a lot of major partners. We'll talk about those later, but they partner with data centers and they partner with companies that are not them, and they just pull in a ton of revenue. So, like I said, I bought NVIDIA a while back. I don't even know how long ago it was, maybe 10 years, maybe more. Um, Anyhow, this is investing, right? You should be able to buy a company and feel comfortable enough in your decision that you don't have to check back in it for 10 years, and you'd be like happy like about what had happened. So Nvidia is one of those companies that just sort of like has delivered. Not every company does, right? But it seems like they have. But there's other considerations to talk about when you're thinking about these sort of high growth companies, or investing in any company, right? The complexity of Nvidia is a strike against it for me. So I love companies that have lots of customers. That's fabulous, right? Because it provides this sort of like baseline of, folks who are kind of going to be there, like buying subscriptions or buying, in their case, right, buying chips, buying cards, year after year, quarter after quarter. Those companies are going to come back and they're going to need more. But the complexity here is that they've got so many things going. They've got the Omniverse going. They've got their visualization systems going. They've got a couple of automotive platforms. They've got these data center chips that they're constantly coming out with. It's a lot to take care of when you're a CEO, right? Like, as we were looking at this, Angela, how easy was it for us to figure out what all the lines of business were?
It was, yeah, we struggled to even figure out what to even talk about for this podcast because their areas of growth and revenue is so like huge. Like the breadth, they cover a lot of things. So yeah, they're like everywhere, and we struggle to find a lot of the information. Like even the prices, like who are even paying for these chips, and like what do they do with those chips? And the pricing is just not really all that transparent, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So like we definitely tried to dig into like where this growth was happening. Um, and I imagine that, I mean, obviously people who are inside can just ask the question, CEO can just ask the question of a group. But as you start to get too complex, and or very complex, and there are lots and lots of lines of business, everyone's going to be have to everyone's going to have to be reporting that information back, and it kind of goes into this sort of mash in the person's head who's trying to run the organization. And that's where I worry about waste creeping in. I also worry about companies that suddenly have a really high rate of return on their investments, because that's where waste can creep in. Also, you can, like a department head can say, oh, we can hire two or three extra people. They don't have to be that productive. We'll just get them in here and they can help a little bit. During hard times, that can be really rough for an organization, because you're going to have to let those people go probably, right? But you've kept them there for a while, and like it's difficult to do that on a macro scale. um, so another thing that I didn't really realize that they were focusing on was this sort of data center and cloud computing support. So especially around AI, because they have this huge opportunity in AI, and they're building out data centers with their chips, and they're allowing other people to use them via Microsoft Azure or Google's cloud services, Amazon's AWS. And apparently, NVIDIA is the strongest in the field. And the reports we've seen online are that buyers tend to choose them first or only. So This is their biggest business, the data center business, and it is growing very, very, very quickly. But my question is this as an investor, how long can this hyper growth go? And if you're a believer in like the singularity and how, you know, it's possible that this growth just becomes the new norm, it's possible. But generally growth spikes, becomes asymptotic for a while, and then kind of crashes. That's what you generally see in companies that are engaged in this sort of massive growth model. But this one might be different. So Angela, you talk to me about like this hyper growth and see like what is your perspective on it as a young person who's like you've got some AI in your background, right?
Yes. Yes. So I'm speaking as a college student who will be aiming to be in the AI job force as a software engineer and working on AI technologies. I believe that there has been a bloom in AI technologies, especially technologies like GPTs and like the search bots that who do the work for you, like ChatGPT and stuff. And personally, I believe that in that field, there's a lot of demand, which is why I'm specializing in artificial intelligence while studying computer science. And honestly, I'm very excited to hop on this growth in AI. And even though it'll flatten out, I don't ever believe that it'll go down. I believe this will be the new norm. And yeah, I'm going into this field with the mindset that this is where the future will be for at least the next 5 to 10 years. Obviously, it's really hard to say, but at least I'm betting my future on it. So I believe in
so
it.
so when you say it'll flatten out, you mean it'll stabilize kind of at this sort of higher growth level?
Yes,
Let's
yes. It
let's
should
do it
become
this
the
way:
norm. Like,
higher growth level,
yeah. hmm Yeah, it's
because the
like the cell
growth right
phone
now is
boom.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like shooting straight up.
So for a while, they were talking about how NVIDIA chips were being used for Bitcoin mining, any sort of coin mining. But now it's gone beyond that. So you've got the coin mining, you've got the gamers, you've got the AI players who want it. Um, I'm just wondering though, because these chips are super expensive. If you're mining Bitcoin, there's a return that comes with that. But I'm wondering if you think that AI will pay for itself in the short run. Because if a company like at a data center is buying all these chips and they get to a point where they've overloaded, maybe they've bought too many chips and they're not getting in as much income in, I'm wondering like is this going to damage folks who get over enthusiastic and then people are like we don't like these AIs after all? What's your thought on that, Angela?
It reminds me of this cartoon or this animation. It's like, the gold rush. You're selling like everyone comes to California for the gold, but like the business that makes the most money is the ones that are selling the shovels. And I feel like in this case, I'm actually not really sure in the answer, but I see what you're saying. Like eventually it's not going to pay for itself in the short run. And like big tech companies, the partners like Microsoft, Google, they're just relying on NVIDIA's technology now to try to, I guess, hop on the bandwagon of AI development with those chips. That's
Well,
that's just
I mean, we've all seen the growth in AI development. You've seen the photos from the image creators.
oh yeah.
We've seen you've like I know you've played with some of the AI models from ChatGPT. I've seen how Grok has been working. I was playing with Midjourney the other day, and it's phenomenally good. Like like really good. Like it looks like a real person when I ask for a real person in a real environment. Everything is accurate except for like the text. Like I asked it for like a wall of what do you call it? I wanted to make a bar scene, and it had like uh, bottles, but like the text on the bottles doesn't say anything yet.
Oh,
Yet, yet. So we were able to find from an unnamed source a little bit about like who is actually paying for these chips, and kind of we can infer from that how those chips are being used. So we've got Microsoft at about 15%, Meta at about 13%, Amazon at about 6%, and Alphabet also at about 6%. I The article we found did not have a named source, so I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. But it does look like, because I haven't, we went looking real quickly, but we couldn't find like where this information was sourced. So if these are true, though, if these are true, it means that they have a really good diversification between all the different groups, right? You've got a lot of Microsoft. Microsoft is a heavy hitter with this. Like, I don't see them like stopping buying things. Meta is trying really, really hard to get into AI. And I think they're succeeding in some of it. Amazon's up there, Alphabet's up there. Apple isn't mentioned. I wonder if Apple doesn't care because they build their own chips. What do you think about that? Because that kind of worries me about Apple, not necessarily about NVIDIA. I don't think NVIDIA is going to have a problem with this.
yes.
But I wonder if Apple is even working on like a strong AI product.
I think with the Vision Pro coming out, they're focusing on virtual reality AI. I think, but I'm not sure who the partner would be for like the processors if it's not NVIDIA. But I don't think Apple is shying away from AI.
I don't think so, but like, do they have a big AI product? They've had Siri for years, but Siri is definitely not an AI. Siri,
Yeah.
like, or maybe she is. She's like a clunky early stage AI.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT 1. I think she came before that.
I
No,
think she is
Siri,
an
I don't want you
example
to
of,
like call anybody. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Anyway, do you think so? So here's another question. And I think I know your answer on this, but I want to ask it anyway. Do you think this is a fad? Do you think AI is a fad? I have my own answer to this, but I want to hear
I
your
don't
reasons.
I don't think so because I feel like as this world progresses, especially in technology and the workplace, it's like we want to emphasize on efficiency, and AI definitely helps with that, although it might cut down jobs. But it isn't like as a college student, I do reference to ChatGPT a lot, and it's been helping me to answer a lot of questions, and it can tutor me through homework. And it actually improved my life in ways that I didn't expect before, academically and personally. Sometimes I can just search up recipes or like even workout routines from ChatGPT, and I can even personalize it. And based on how useful it is, I do not believe that it's a fad. I think it's just a newer way of living this world now, just like the bloom of cell phones and, like lights. It's just a new era that we're entering in.
Okay, it's interesting that you expressed all that. How familiar with Google search or Bing search or any other like standard search engine are you?
I would say pretty familiar.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I've found that with some of our younger interns, they don't necessarily have a lot of experience with Googling things. And my hypothesis, that I haven't proved this, is that people who are younger grew up with cell phones as their primary computing interface. They didn't really grow up with computers. And on the cell phone, you can search for things. You can search, but the search is integrated into the top toolbar of, say, Safari or Android browser or whatever Android browser is called. I don't know. So when they're using that, they are using Google, but they may not realize that they are, or they're using Bing and they don't realize that they are. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking that they have kind of become associated with the places where the information is coming from. But isn't it so much better when the AI does it?
Yes, because I feel like with Google search, I have to dive into things and read through them, parse through the information myself, even if I really specify my query in the in the search engine box. But yeah, like the AI, they just tell you, they analyze it, and it's like your own personal assistant.
I know. I like that about it. I actually use Grok, which is X's AI,
Yeah, it looks
and
pretty
I've
good.
found it to be quite useful. It's fast and it amazingly understands a lot of the things that I've asked it to do. One of the things it wasn't able to understand was I was trying to test its limits. I tried to build a Monte Carlo simulation that had a number of parameters to it, and it did like it it almost had it. It almost had it. It was a fairly complex simulation, so um, the thing was it wouldn't recalculate it afterwards, and I really needed to check its work, and so I needed it to feed back like information at various points, but it was difficult to get it to do so. So I know that there's some skill involved in prompting it properly, but I do not have that skill apparently. So what do you think after all the research that we've done on NVIDIA and like looking into these various different ways that they're growing? I mean, even though gaming is sort of like their third most largest growth bucket, it still grew what, 81% year over year? Is that what we found? Yeah. I mean, when your third largest business group out of four is growing at 81% year over year, you're doing something right. So, what do you think about NVIDIA? Are you bullish long term? Do you like this company, or do you think they've kind of gotten ahead of themselves? Do you think people are like throwing money at it just because it's the selection of the day or of the quarter?
I'm not going to lie. I bought NVIDIA 2 years ago because I heard, oh, it has a lot of potential. And then I bought it. And then, like, the next day it went up. I think this was towards the end of 2021. And then now I forgot to check my Robinhood for like a cool like year. And I checked it right now. My profit has grew so much, and I only have like 5 shares of it. And I think in the past year I tried to buy more, but I kept checking the prices and it just kept going up and never dropped once that I checked. But I do want to buy more. I'm really scared for what the future holds. Like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Is this just going to keep shooting up? Like, should I just buy more now and hoping that it'll just keep going up? But I would
That's always
say
the question, right?
yes, yes.
So, I mean, one of the answers is dollar cash average. So, if you have some money, you could just buy in tranches, like buy once today, once next month, once a month after that, and just kind of keep going, right? Whenever you get extra money, you invest a portion of that money into whatever your favorite investments are, and you just average up. And yeah, you're going to buy some that are higher, you're going to buy some that are lower, but if you believe in the company long term, a lot of times that is a winning strategy. That said,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that right now because I don't have my investing money comes in these weird spurts. And because we own a business, it's sort of like we're trying to save our cash for other things. But I've, I'm basically just holding my NVIDIA. But I didn't, the thing is, I didn't have to pay as much attention to it a while ago because it wasn't as large a portion in my portfolio. But now it's one of the largest things in my portfolio. So I better pay attention. So that's what we're talking about today. That's why that's why we're talking about this today. So what about you? Are you planning on holding Nvidia long term like me?
Yes, definitely.
And what we mean by long term, well, what I mean by long term is another 10 years probably, right? I may sell some, but the reason why I sell would be to like, finance something, buy something that I need. I'm probably going to keep it in there for the most part. I'm probably not going to be rebalancing out of it because it's too juicy to me. So, are we excited about this company? Is it a
Yes, I
keeper
am.
for
Yes.
us at
For me,
least?
I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. We're not advising you to do anything. We don't care. We're already shareholders.
Mhm.
Y'all can make that decision on your own. Okay, cool. Well, that's going to be it for the Lazy Paddler show today. Thanks for watching us. And thank you, Angela, for being our guest analyst on today's show.
We hope you have a very lazy
Lazy
day.
day.
Yes.
All
Mhm.
right. Bye,
Peace out.
everybody.
Bye.